Our next topic is kind of a challenging one. It's managing fields after a bad disease year. So I especially, Darren, because we've got a lot of farmers interested in raising continuous crop this next year, continuous beans, continuous wheat, continuous corn, is talk about managing some of those issues and specific diseases to each of those crops.
Okay, well, we did have some disease issues this year. There's no question about it, because much of the country got a little more moisture than we've been receiving over the past few years. So when we get more moisture, we have more chance of having diseases. Okay, let's look at soybeans first, because we're hearing a lot of guys across the country saying, what about continuous soybeans? Can I raise more soybeans because it looks like that might be more profitable for me and my farm, or at least I might not lose as much money as I'm probably going to lose raising corn.
All right, let's go through diseases real quick. White mold. How do you solve white mold if you want to be in continuous beans?
Row spacing made a big time difference this year. If we had wider rows, we had less white mold. So you may consider, if I'm in a continuous soybean situation, I might go back to 30-inch rows instead of going in a drill or in a 15-inch row spacing. I would certainly this fall get contans out on your field. It's going to wipe out a lot of the sclerotia, which are basically the seeds that are going to form little mushrooms next year. They're
How
going
about
to end
varieties?
up being more white mold.
I mean, is there a big difference in varieties?
There is some difference in varieties. Talk to your seed provider about it.
And then what we suggest for herbicide is using some Cobra, then follow up with 2 different fungicides at 2 different timings, R1 and R3. Endure is the best, Proline is next, then Domark. So those are your choices. All right, in terms of other diseases,
Sudden death syndrome was one this year that really popped up. So if we have that year, like 2014, where it's exceptionally cool, just wait until a few days later than everybody else plants, and you're going to be in good shape, because that sudden death syndrome is going to be the worst in the fields that are planted very early. Then look at varietal selection. We do have a new seed treatment coming, a Levo from Bayer. It looks pretty good on sudden death syndrome. You use it as a seed treatment, you don't have as much problem later on. You know, we'll see when that gets used across broad acres.
all right, the last disease in soybeans, brown stem rot.
Well, there are a lot of resistant varieties out there, so just choose the right one, you won't have a problem.
All right, corn, Goss's Wilt is probably the biggest one.
Varietal selection is the best thing you can do, and of course tillage. If you've got Goss's Wilt, it's going to hang out in that residue, so bury that residue if you can in your area. Otherwise, choose the best hybrid. That's the best thing you can do right now.
Gray leaf spot.
Gray leaf spot you can manage with Foliar products. You can use Foliar fungicides, get them out there before the gray leaf spot becomes prevalent. You can do a nice job protecting, and then also varietal selection. There are big differences there in gray leaf spot tolerance.
Yeah, but it's just like some of these other diseases that are starting to become tolerant to the strobilurin family. So eye spot, northern corn leaf blight, some of those diseases can all be controlled with a foliar fungicide, but our best advice is use a combination product. Let's turn to wheat real quick. Any of the fusarium diseases, I mean, anything that might stay around from year to year.
I'll say this, the biggest thing in wheat is, and some guys will say, well, if I'm going continuous wheat, then I'm going to use the premium seed treatment package. But if it's just first year wheat, then I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it in both cases, because they don't charge that much more for the premium package versus the regular. It takes less than a half a bushel of wheat to justify that difference, and I think you're going to see that more times than not.
Okay, a couple other big tips, and I don't care if it's wheat, it's corn, it's beans, it's any crop. Tillage obviously will help you with disease, but then you've got other issues on that front. But absolutely, if you want to reduce issues with disease, do some more tillage. Seed treatments we've mentioned quite a bit. Using foliar fungicides and timing it right. If you wait too long, you've missed the window of opportunity. So spray early, use multiple modes of action when you're spraying. And there are going to be less expensive fungicides. If you say, oh, I can't use a fungicide, it's all too expensive, those prices are coming down. Don't get too worried about that going into next year. And I guess the other big thing is just making sure you're managing all the other stresses on your farm. If you can do a good job managing your fertility right, reducing drought issues, reducing compaction, taking care of other issues like nematodes and rootworms, other insects, things like that, all those things will absolutely help you when it comes to reducing disease issues.
Well, one other thing you'll definitely have to do to be successful with any crop is control our weed of the week. We'll show you how to do it coming up next.